Hello everyone and welcome back to Paper Peony. I'm Kimberly Jones and I'm an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up. Today I have for you my third and final sample using the Queen Bee stamp set found on online exclusives on my Stampin' Up website linked below. There you will find this stamp set. It's only a $23 stamp set and it is well worth every penny of it. Here is what the stamp set looks like. If you have I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I have spent time on my other two videos. But here is the Cling stamp set. It's a rubber stamp set. The other things I'm going to be using is my all-time favorite general dies, the Stylish Shapes dies. You are going to need, for this fun card, you are going to need to have a nesting size of either squares, circles, or ovals. Here, as you can see, this is what the mechanism looks like. It is a flip card, so if you look, it flips and it flips outward. So, and I used a square on this one. So it's going to be your biggest square or biggest circle that you're going to use if you use the Stylish Shapes dies. And then the other thing I'm using for the inside sentiment of my card, I'm using the Charming Sentiments, which I do love, wishing you everything wonderful. So these are the products that I've used, and if you go online and you're interested in the Charming Sentiment stamp set, which has wonderful sayings, there's also a die cut set that goes with it called Sentiment Silhouettes, and it does cut out every one of your sayings. Lisa Curcio, this is one of her stamp sets that she helped design because of the $1 Million sales. And if you go on her blog, it will actually give you a template of what words cut out with what dies, because these are kind of overwhelming to know which sentiments go with which die. Also, you get your hearts, you get stars, you get extras, and a candle. You get extra little shapes with this die set as well. So it's well worth it. It's also 10% off if you purchase them together, I believe. So, anyway, this product here is found in the annual catalog, and then the Queen Bee is on your online exclusive tab. So, and then the shapes are found in the annual catalog as well. Okay, so here is the card we're going to be doing today, and it's really fun. It's very simple. I am going to show you a very, very easy way of doing this partial die cut. I had trouble trying to get it to work right the first couple of times, and I have found the easiest way of doing it, and I'm going to share that with you. So let's get started. I'm using a Fresh Freesia cardstock base, and it's 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. This is cut like your standard card. But what you're going to do is you're going to score it at 4 1/4 like you're doing a normal card base. Okay, then you're going to do half of that at 2 1/8. So you're going to have one side scored in half, like so. And then here is your halfway mark, okay? So bring that in. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold that score line, the 4 1/4 score line, and burnish that to a nice crisp fold. And then you're going to fold this one back toward the spine of the card, okay? And make sure that it goes corner to corner, and then burnish that fold as well, okay? So now you have your fold. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do the more complicated part, which would be your die cut. So you're gonna get your square, your biggest square die, which would be this one right here, okay? And I'm bringing in my die cut machine. And I'm going to make sure everything is free and clear out of my way. Okay, so what you're going to do is on this fold right here where you have your flap accordion fold, you're going to put your die cut, and you're going to make sure that that die cut is resting, the center of the die cut is on the score line, okay? Because you're only going to want to cut out half of the die. So you're going to set this on your die cut machine. And what I found is if I use some kind of little tape to hold that die cut down, it keeps it from moving around on me. So let me finagle this real quick. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're just going to tape it down to keep it from flapping when you run it through. Okay. Then, let me move this up here so you can see what I'm doing. So then, you're going to bring this out. You're going to push in that top plate just so it has grabbing potential. Okay, and you're going to take it all the way to that score line where your die cut rests on it. Okay, so the score line as to where your die cut is. Okay, then you're going to push it all the way through till you get to your platform plate, and then you're going to run it through. And it's going to just cut that half that plate was resting on. So when you pull it up off of your card base, you're left with this. And it only cut half. That was the easiest way of doing it. I did it where it was the last thing that went through, and it would just never grab to run through the die cut machine. So if you run the top plate, that is creased on that score line through first and have it go through before you run the whole thing through, it will run through for you. So there's that, okay? And then what we're gonna do next is we're just gonna start stamping and decorating our card. So I'm bringing in something that I don't mind getting ink on. And we're going to, I already have all my stuff, I already have everything mounted. So I'm bringing Fresh Freesia's stamping pad in, and that's the ink. It's going to be tone on tone. And what I'm going to do is on this flap here that's actually facing me, I am going to stamp it with the little flower. And I'm just going to stamp it off the page, on the page, or on the card, just to kind of give it some kind of appeal. And I'm going to go up here and kind of stamp one a little partial right there. Okay, so there's my little flower. And then, because when you grab this and you flip it, you're going to see this part right here. So on my original, if you'll see, I have actually put some kind of branches right there on the inside of that flap, just to kind of give it some kind of visual interest. So I'm going to do that same thing. I've already got that branch from that stamp set mounted, and I'm just going to stamp it in Fresh Freesia and come around here and just stamp it and kind of make it look like it's going inward and out, different directions. Okay. Okay, so set that aside. The next thing we're going to do is pick your designer series paper that you want to use. Now, I use the Masterfully Made found in the back of the catalog, and it has beautiful paper, and I thought that these flowers really went well with the bee. So here is the one that I did, kind of more of a muted look, the blues and the freesia color. And the one that we're going to do is going to be more of a brighter look. I'm hoping I didn't use all of that paper to show you what that paper looks like. And I think I did. Anyway, the top part of this is more of your brighter colors. And so if you look in the annual catalog, you will see these papers, and they're beautiful. So you're going to cut a panel that is 2 5/8 by 2 5/8, okay? So that's this size. And it layers beautifully on top of where we're going to glue it. Okay, so we're going to glue that right there. So, and it layers beautifully on top of that. And then on the inside, we're going to glue another piece as well. So on the other piece of designer series paper, you're going to need a 4" by 5 1/4 piece. Okay, and then you're going to need a 1 7/8 by 5 1/4 piece as well. So, and they're going to kind of go like this on the inside of the card. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this 2 5/8 square, and we're going to emboss our bee onto this piece here. So I'm going to use this embossing buddy. And we have an embossing kit that includes this and the tray for your embossing powder, some tweezers to hold your piece when it's heating, It's a very nice set. Look that up. There's also a little brush that you can brush the embossing powders out of the tray and back into the jar. Here is my bee. I'm using Versamark. It's kind of like a watermark ink. And I kind of did my bee in an angle. And I wanted the flowers at the bottom. So she's looking like she's flying out of a garden. Okay, and then I'm going to take white embossing powder. And this is kind of like the tray that you would be looking at getting in the embossing kit. And I do have 2 embossing powder colors in one tray, and that was just by accident that happened, but it did happen. So I'm trying to keep my white away from my dark brown embossing powder. So when you sprinkle it with white embossing powder, that's what you're going to be left with. Okay. Take your tweezers, grab your piece, and then heat it up. And it's going to turn a real glossy white color when it's done. That way you know that it's heated up. You don't want to overheat it because then it'll turn yellow on you. Okay. And then that's what you're left with. Okay. So now we're ready to start building our card. So we have this piece here, and we're going to flap this flat down and glue this embossed square down using a strong adhesive, because you want to make sure whoever's getting this card, when they're flipping it around a lot, you want to make sure it stays on there really nice. So I'm using our Stampin' Seal that has also refill tape that you can order. Okay, then you're going to open that up, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to glue or adhere this yellow piece. Now I did a matching yellow piece and a white piece, the same size, and it's that size down on those die cuts. Okay, and you're going to want a white piece for your sentiment and then a matching coordinating piece with your designer series paper. The reason I use this is because when you open it up, it kind of covers that score line right there. So it just makes it more appealing, and that's why I have that inside square there. So I'm gluing this down. This is crushed curry to match with the designer series paper. If you order a designer series paper, just look at the colors and then match your cardstock appropriately. Okay, and then here is the designer series paper, that 4-inch by 5 1/4 piece that I'm putting on that back piece. Okay, here is that panel piece that's 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And see how this is going to flap over that, and it's going to look a lot better. Just make sure that it matches up with your other piece over here on the side. That way it looks like a screen. It looks like a screen effect, a Venetian blind effect. Okay, so there's that. There's your flip mechanism. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to glue down our square here. Actually, let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment first to make sure it stamps nice and clean. Okay, so this one says, wishing you everything wonderful, and I'm stamping it in Starry Night, which is a really nice dark purple. And I'm just going to stamp it right there on the center of the square. Then I'm going to come in and mimic those little fresh freesia flowers that I did on the front, and just stamp just a couple, just to kind of make it more appealing. And that's what you're left with. Okay. Okay, make sure that gets nice and dry. Now, I'm pretty good at eyeballing and making sure that it's going to lay right on the inside of that panel. You want to make sure it lays on the inside of that panel so it's not seen. And so I know that it's going to be fine right there, so I'm just going to glue that down right there. Okay. Now, the only other thing we've got to do is just decorate it with gemstones. And so I've got clear gemstones here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to use the clear gemstones. And you can leave them clear or you can color them with our alcohol blends. And I have fresh freesia. And so I'm going to do the fresh freesia. And these come in a 2-pack of light and dark, of whatever color you choose to purchase. They're $10 for 2 markers. And I tend to lean toward the dark every time I color gemstones. That way it's more noticeable, I guess. There's 2 ends to these markers. There's a nib end and then a brush end. And sometimes I find that the brush end does better coloring with these gemstones. Okay, so I'm just going to color, say, 4 or 5 of the big sizes, or the medium sizes. And if you want, you can come in and do some of the smaller ones as well. You're kind of in control of how many gemstones you actually put on your card. So, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put, just put them in there sporadically. Put them in the center of your flowers if you want. And I think I put 3 on the front and several on the inside as well. We'll put this one right here. Okay, and then a big one on the back of the bee because there's a heart right there. And I wanted to kind of really make that a focal point. So I used a big stone on the back of her thorax. I think that's what that's called. Okay, and then I go in here and let me see where I put, okay, I put stones on, just thrown in there at different places. I mean, you can even put some, if you wanted, you could put some right here on the actual sentiment. Okay, and there you have it. So you have a really cute flip card, Queen Bee, and you can either sign the inside, or if you wanted, you could actually put a piece of white cardstock on the back and make that your message to your recipient, however you would like. But that is what I have for you today. It's a very simple card. It's a quick card once you understand how the mechanism works and how you can do that die cut. But the way I showed you is probably the easiest way that I have found to do this card. And here is the other version of this card. See how this one has a lot of bright colors going on? This one's got more of a green tone, blue tone to it. So it just depends. And I use Lost Lagoon on this one to kind of pair with the greens that's in the paper. So it just depends on which colors you like the best and how you want to go about doing your card. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe here. That way you know when I have upcoming videos. And I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.